Give it a moment or two, because it usually takes a moment or two to really kick in. But there we go, that should do.
Welcome to your awakening. Please take calm as your reality is adjusted.
Welcome to your awakening. Please stay calm while I sort out another video to share with my terrible multitasking skills that mean it reduces my ability to blather while trying to click through multiple screens at once. But okay, I promise I'll stop there. For now, anyway. It might pop in every now and then. Let me just adjust the volume on it a little bit so I can speak over the top of it. Just a quick clip from the classic Talking Heads song. I mentioned these the other night on Steve Tagusi's show on his in his chat room. We were talking about him, and yeah. Seemed highly appropriate this week with the roadmap being announced today. Yes, welcome back once again, folks. Another edition of Sol Excalibre on this Moon Day evening here in the UK. Anyway, it's evening, just gone past the 8 p.m. GMT. Late as usual, but it is the 22nd of the 2nd, 2021. So how many twos can you fit into one day? Well, until next year when it'll be two. Yeah, but 22nd. And as commenter pointed out, often that 222, the 222, is a subtle nod towards the 666. In numerology, a lot of these repeating numbers can indicate various things. Yeah, why was it Bojo chose today to make that announcement about the new roadmap, the roadmap to nowhere? Which is why in the info box under the video, my subtitle for this week's episode is Rubberband Roadmap. There's a couple of things at least over the course of this week, and then today with Bojo the clown announcements, it just made me think about a kind of rubber band effect. And then that had me thinking along the lines of rains, not as in rain from above, like on that little video clip I overlaid the rain effect, visual special effect of rain falling to add that connotation to the message. But anyway, not rain as in RAINS. And also not rain as in REIGNS, as in, monarchies rain down onto us. But I was thinking along the lines of rains as in REINS, the reins that are used to steer a beast of burden, or a horse that you're riding or leading on a cart, or, and this was where the connotation came to mind, reins that you have for controlling your little toddler when they're just starting to learn to walk and they want to explore the world, and they're constantly running away from their parent or guardian. So you get these reins, this harness that you can put on them. You've probably seen them out and about. You might even have some for your own children. I don't know. Yeah, to control the children and pull them back again. And that had me thinking that along that line of that rubber band effect. Yeah, they keep giving out these suggestions that they're going to allow you to go back to the new normal, which is really the abnormal. They're going to allow you to go back to normal, but then they keep pulling it back again. So yeah, you're allowed to go over there, have a little look round, just like a little toddler infant. You know, you can have a little explore, and then I can pull you back again and make you do what I want. Yes, and the return of the not quite a bacterium yet Prince of Darkness, or one of the Princes of Darkness. You know, he's supposedly married to the Queen Bee, which doesn't quite make him a king. You know, just one of those convoluted things about how monarchies work. But yeah, he's not a king. He's only a prince. And recently, he bounced in and out of hospital like the rubber band man, which, like I said, there's been one or two things over the course of this weekend that just made me think that kind of rubber band effect. Yeah, he's bounced in and out of hospital, and none of the press that I've seen, and I haven't really searched around for this, and I'm pretty certain there'll be some of the independent media, alternative media, new media, whatever you want to label it as, that will mention this kind of thing. But certainly the usual mainstream press, the classic press, the old paradigm press, they haven't touched this concept at all. It's like, didn't he receive his vaccine jab only a few weeks ago? And yeah, what was it? It's 3 weeks to flatten the curve, because supposedly, allegedly, this alleged pathogen thing, whatever, the invisible enemy, the phantom menace, has an incubation period of anything from 2 to 6 weeks, 14 to 28 days-ish, approximately one moon phase. Funny that, but yeah, it's the usual kind of astronomical connections. But yeah, he had his vaccine jab not so long ago, and then he got a bit ill and wasn't feeling very good, so they sent him into hospital, where they probably pumped him up again full of his simian blood injections. His gene therapy updates, he's had the latest operating system put into him, so now he's all sprite and chipper again, and oh great, we've got our Prince of Darkness back. He's still not quite reached his goal of becoming the virus that will wipe out the majority of mankind. Yeah. Look into his history for yourself. I think I mentioned it a little bit on Wednesday, on Wednesday's reality chat. You might find some images of him wearing some interesting uniforms and rubbing shoulders at meetings, almost a bit similar to like what we're looking at in the... Oh, no, not that one. Can I do that one? No, I can't bring it to the front without separating it as a separate picture. The image in the background, the image that I use as a thumbnail. Yeah, there's plenty of evidence to show that he was quite okay with all that element of the what were supposed to be the enemy of the Second World War, supposed to be the enemies of freedom and democracy and all that stuff, for the previous generation. And now the majority of that generation have gone. Captain Tom has gone up to his spaceship in the sky. So I should say Captain Moore, but they know that remembrance, that physical memory of those experiences has now faded, because that generation has pretty much gone. But the Prince of Darkness, he's still around, like the rubber band man that he is. He just keeps coming back. He told us... Go on.
I was going to say they've got a big birthday plan for him this year. He's 100, isn't he? So they've got to get into that.
There's bound to be some pomp and circumstance for that.
Yeah.
There'll probably be quite a few front page headline grabbers about it.
So they'll recharge his batteries, give him some extra blood treatments, and wire him up, and off he'll go. He looked like he just looks terrible, doesn't he? The pictures we've seen in the last few years of him, he looks like he's
He,
turning into a reptile.
he, more and more, year after year, he looks like he's a star in a Hammer House horror film.
Yeah.
Yeah. When they were doing the colour ones, not the old black and white ones, but
Yeah, don't scare the children. Keep them in the other room.
Or maybe you should scare the children. It's like, look, kids, that's what you don't want to be in life. Look at the horror that he has become. You don't want to be that, do you?
And funny how you mentioned the jab, because he'd had that, didn't he? And then you've got this. So it's
But obviously, he was much more worth keeping than Captain Tom. Yeah. Captain Tom was expendable. He was allowed to shuffle off the mortal coil. They weren't going to expend the value of their precious vials of simian blood. I'm saying simian blood as like a sarcastic parody, but I'm sure people will be aware of that kind of stuff. Yeah, he wasn't worth the value, whereas the icon of old world empire, oh yeah, they've got to keep him going. They've got to keep him, marching around, reminding us of the fact that we supposedly live in a constitutional monarchy. Yeah. Can you find a copy of the Constitution, the British Constitution? I know, hello to all the good people over in the United States. I know you can sort of get a print out of your Constitution, but here in the UK, nah.
It's hard to find, isn't it? It seems.
Yeah. It's not all in one place, and it's even difficult to say if it's truly codified to call it a singular thing like a constitution. It's a bit like a bunch of rules that sort of work, that we apply to the foundation of the nation state. It's not exactly codified very well. Yeah?
No.
But I got to mention this as well, just because it seemed another one of those synchronicities. This episode is number 20 for this season's, being season 4. That means this is episode 420. And when I put that in my notes and I wrote like 420, I looked at it and I was thinking, actually, that's like 42. Oh, yeah, 420 equals, when somebody asks you what's the meaning of life, you say 42 and they go, oh. Yeah, so the O is not a 0 in a numerical sense, get me words out. It's that reaction of the meaning of life is 42. Everybody goes, oh. Yeah, what do you mean 42? But yeah, it's episode 420. And I was going to say, when we started off, I suppose I could say it now. Good evening, ladies and chest feeders. Welcome once again to the window on the insanity that is supposedly modern society. I am now more and more convinced that we are the few remaining sane inmates of a worldwide asylum.
Yeah,
it's not that the lunatics have taken over the asylum, not at all. The lunatics are just the epidemic that has taken place within society, so that now we are living within an open air care facility that is populated by insane people. And it's the insane people that are making the news headlines and trying to convince everybody else that you've got to pretend that you're ill so that they can care for you because you're ill. Does not compute. That does not make any sense whatsoever, mate. It's like, yeah, you are ill, therefore you are ill. What? It's not you have symptoms, you have stuff that we can, detect and isolate and show a causal link to the poor health that you feel. No, it's just, you are ill because we say you are ill. Pretend that you've got it, and then we can inject you with a vaccine to protect you from getting it. Yeah.
Well, I'm just seeing headline after headline, like I say, just looking at the headlines. That's it. It's just what they're pushing out each day, every day since all this started.
Celebrate the cheese.
It's just sometimes it gets to you. Sometimes you think, right, here we go again. And you just think,
Rubber band.
Yeah, like rubber band, bing boing. You know, sometimes it's snapped. You know, snapped for those who've gone. And but for us who each day, you know, they see this shit. And it, yeah, sometimes I just don't know what to say anymore because it's so mad. Like you say, trying to stay sane in the insanity of it all. You know, it's hard. It's hard work sometimes because you're thinking, why are people not seeing what we can see? No,
I think, you know,
I think
I know
people are
recent,
I think people are
yeah, they are.
underground. We are, but
Yeah.
it's just that level where the mainstream media, like I say, that's the weapon. That's their main armor. That's everything for them, armor protection. It's, you know, you can't challenge it. You're shot down. And also what they pump out, as we know, because we've been talking about this for 10 years now or whatever, and we knew it when we were younger, you know, just the bullshit of the lies and the contradictions of all the media that we've seen over the decades. And they're caught out many times, and now we just see a real full-on onslaught on our mental state, you know, in our head, on our energy, you know, really going for it now. And
Yeah.
you know, the vaccine thing is worrying, but at the same time, I think I said it last week, I think that the figures aren't maybe matching up to what is actually going on the ground. So maybe it isn't as popular, but they'll still say it is and still carry on with this this onslaught, if you like, of our freedoms being just taken off us and trying to turn people against each other who don't want it or whatever, and causing difficulties in the workplace and things like this going forward, and everything,
Create
you know.
agitation.
Yeah, and those who don't want it and those who do want it, you know, and trying to ask you questions in a passive aggressive way if you're going to have it or not. You know, and that's all
Well,
psychological stuff. So it's people have to
I
get their heads
mentioned
around
it.
that and know they've been fucked over. You know,
I threw it in earlier, like when you're saying about the mainstream press, or just saying about celebrate the cheese.
yeah,
And that's that kind of passive aggressive manipulation,
Mm.
because even though the media is portraying it this way, I know the reality is that a lot of people are asking the same kind of questions, but the media is portraying it as if nobody's even thought to ask the question of, like, excuse me, please, sir, you know, what about the 3 weeks to flatten the curve? Are we still in the 3 weeks? Have we experienced a time loop? You know, rubber band time loop. We're just stuck in the same 3 weeks going round and round again. Maybe we need to get in touch with Data, you know, aboard the Starship Enterprise, and it can help us escape this time loop trap that we're stuck in. Supposedly, nobody's asking those kind of questions, which of course is not the reality. Instead, we're given this passive aggressive manipulation, psychological attack, psychic attack through the media, where they want us to celebrate the cheese we're being offered that is baiting the trap. That is supposedly, you know, we'll get into talking about some of the stuff about the roadmap, but the return of your privileges, your luxuries, your pleasures in life. You know, if you do what we want, if you be a good little mouse and run the direction we want, you'll be given this bit of cheese. So in the press, they're giving out this attitude of celebrate the cheese. Or any day now, the pubs will reopen again. Hey, everybody be happy. Soon the pubs will be over, but you'll still have to wear masks. Oh, but celebrate the cheese. Yeah. This is the kind of level of insanity that they're trying to indoctrinate into us, to inculcate into us, so that they're hoping that more people, eventually the majority, will absorb that, and it becomes their new abnormal. You know, they think it's good that they're allowed to have the access to those kind of everyday rights of free association, but under the ever watchful virtual eye of the security state and the requirements of restrictions on those other beings of, you know, those sacks of infection that are wandering around in my world. You know, they think, they hope that people will absorb that as being well, I'm glad I'm in a prison, because look at the state of all those other people. Oh, I'm going to follow the rules, and then that way I'll be safe. You know, it is the depths of manipulation that we've got into now are just so obscene. And it's not like a lot of this stuff is not being pointed out or called out. It is in one way or another. And I think it was a couple of weeks ago now when we were talking about the the whistleblower kind of information that was coming forward about the care homes. We've spoken about that care home manager that the UK column had spoken with, and in some of those messages that we showed, it was saying like, oh, a couple of weeks after our residents had the jab, they all started dying, like a wave of death hit the care home 2 weeks after everyone had been given the jab.
Yeah.
That kind of almost incredulous disbelief that's worded in their comments, in their posts that they're putting online, is that just a front because they know that if they say directly what they're thinking and feeling, they'll lose their job, they'll possibly get fined for spreading misinformation or malinformation or whatever the fucking label, adjective they want to put onto information. Information is information. It's the intent and what is done with it that adds that adjective. Is it disinformation, malinformation, blah 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 blah? That's an adjective that relays the intention of how the information is presented, framed, etc., etc. It's not the information itself. The information itself is literally just information. But you're not allowed to think in that manner anymore. You're not allowed to observe your reality and then try and make sense of it by using your own reasoning to put together those chunks of information. So, well, is there a connection to that? Is there a causal link to that? Is there an association? No, you're not allowed to do that. You have to constantly be primarily concerned with, well, what is the intention? How does it make me feel? Which is part of your experience of reality. Yeah, of course it is. And it does matter, but it's not the totality of reality. This is a constant thing that they've been pushing for a long time. They want people to fixate into a singular extreme polarization. It's going to be an either or result. You're either on the blue team or the red team. You can't be in the middle. You're not allowed to be in the middle. And you can't be outside of that equation at all. No.
Yeah. Well, it's always interesting how silent it goes when you ask about who's liable for this. What liability is there? And
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. And there's sort of things, people saying, you're not going to not have it, but who's responsible and that kind of thing. And so and again, it's where they're moving it to in the future, in the sense of what's the next phase they're going to pull. COVID 2021. It seems that they've got this kind of way that they want to push it, but like I say, with some like I say, mind-blowing revelations or whatever. This isn't quite one, but something that really does bring things down and gets people to really see the lie and what it is. That is going on underground, but it's how it's been. They can't, like I said, it's like a water pipe with a kink in it, and then the pressure just gets too much and it just goes. So it's getting a bit like that at the moment. And then these types of stories like this, unlawful. This is just like the tip of the iceberg. What's coming. I think this is just the first little. Oh, he's acted unlawfully. Oh dear. But
you can pretty much guarantee that because it's being presented by the BBC, then this is a misdirection. This is to placate. This is like the sacrifice to the wolves. Throwing a little chunk of meat to the baying crowd and saying, "Well, here you go. Yeah, we'll say that he's done something unlawful, but he did it for good reasons or some other misdirection." And it will be nothing really to do with the fact is they're talking about him passing on, as we know, the contracts to some of his mates, basically. This is nepotistic and cronyism.
Yes, again, remember the expenses and things, MPs' expenses, all that. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Well, this the thing is, it's about expenses, it's about money, it's about finances. Whereas really the I'll call it the old world financial economic system is already done with. Part of what's going on at the moment is them pushing the public in through a transition from the old economic system into a new virtual online system. So they don't mind so much if you point the finger and say, oh, well, he did something that's unlawful for financial reasons. But they don't want you to consider the fact of some of the things he said, some of the policies that he's put forward are leading to a lot of the situation around the lockdowns, which has amplified the mortality rate for certain demographics. But they don't want you to ask questions about his culpability in that sense. They only want you to look at, well, he was making some money on the side. He was helping his mates in a kind of cronyist fashion. So, you know, they're naughty because it's like insider trading kind of stuff. So don't question the value of the lives of people that have been affected or even died from the results of policies initiated by people like this. No, instead, just worry about the fact that they're lining their pockets. Be jealous of their financial debauchery, call it that, yeah? That's what they're playing on. It's like the fucking lottery wish game. They want your mind to fixate on oh, well, if I had that chance, I'd probably make millions as well. Yeah, I'd have loads of millions. Oh, I wish I was a millionaire. Oh, fantasy games. Oh, it's not really pointing the culpability of what's actually happened, is it?
No.
Sorry, I'm ranting a bit.
No, you're not. Oh, you make good point.
It's on the BBC, so I take it as somewhat of a premise that there's gonna be a misdirect with this, because that's what they do. That's what they're tasked to do. That's what they're designed to do.
Yeah, like I say, more to come. I mean, I was saying before, you know, just the big story there somewhere. Someone's sitting on it, crapping themselves, whether or not to release it or to let it. You know, could even get them into trouble. But it's there. It's been researched and whatever, and it's waiting to go. That's what I feel is needed.
It might sound a bit.
Yeah. Whatever story it is, whatever it's about, but it gets people to really, you know, question the whole, you know, foundations, everything, you know, of everything they thought was real.
I was just thinking about the possibilities of, because of the situation around the NHS and the restrictions that have been deliberately put in place, and the now ever extending and growing waiting list of people needing treatment or waiting for test results and things like that. And this is what I was thinking. I'd say, like, this may sound a little bit mercenary or nasty in some fashion. I don't mean it that way. I think it could potentially be just a silver lining to an unfortunate situation. But what I can see happening is the kind of, how can I call it? Like let's say, for example, a cancer-ridden executioner. In other words, somebody who's part of the enforcer demographic, so the police or the judiciary, or somebody, you know, up in the levels of the bureaucracy, a politician or something like that, who's got a severe case of the cancer, you know, some major potentially or highly potentially fatal illness. He's going to look at the situation and just think, well, fuck it, I'm going to be dead soon anyway, so I'm going to whistleblow all this evidence and information that I've got, that I've been in contact with all these people over the years. You know, I could really blow the lid on the whole thing. Yeah, I think something like that could happen. There's a high potential that at some point in the you know, obviously, because you're dealing with large numbers of people, somebody in that large number statistic is going to be in that kind of situation. And if you're faced with your inevitable demise anyway, it's sort of like, well, I don't care if they destroy my career because I'm going to be dead within a few weeks, you know?
Yeah.
It hasn't happened so far as I'm aware of. Yeah.
No, but I feel that's the something the media cannot ignore or brush over. Even, you know, what we've seen recently over in the States as well with the election. You know, just just ignore that and carry on. You know, it's like
pretend like it didn't happen.
We cannot carry on like that. You know, it's again, it's woke a lot of people up in America. It's woke a lot of people up in Europe, over here. You know, people are beginning to see just how corrupt it all really is, and carries on being. You know, it doesn't stop. it just carries on laughing in your face almost. But that's where they want you to get angry, you see. So that's the bit you shouldn't, start going out and doing bad things. It's about, what can we do? Where do we move forward? What are the good solutions here? When we come into the truth and stuff. Yeah, go on.
It's a good place here to mention a similar story that we talked about many times over the years, but I can't think that we've mentioned it really much over the course of this year because all the other shit happening this year. But another really good example of this kind of cronyism, nepotism, corporatism shit that goes on constantly, the fact that the corruption has been plain to see if you bother to actually take notice of what's going on. Yeah. And that's the case of British Sugar. Yeah, it's a company that's called British Sugar, but what they actually trade in is cannabis.
Yep.
And this is somebody who's very close to Theresa May, let's put it that way. And he's the largest producer of what they call medical grade cannabis. All cannabis is medical grade as long as it's not diluted or polluted. It's just that obviously better quality strains have better effects for different conditions and things like that.
And it's exported, isn't it? In huge amounts. Yeah.
Obviously it's not allowed to be used here in the UK because no, cannabis is naughty and it's a gateway drug and all that other bullshit propaganda that they pump out year after year in the UK. But it's okay for a UK citizen to have his own company where he grows the largest amount of legally grown cannabis in the UK, and the majority of what he trades is exported to certain countries where it's legal for its use.
Yep.
And that's plain as day and has been reported for years and years and years. And the level of cronyistic, nepotistic, back-scratching, insider trading shit all around that situation. And yet I call it the mainstream press again, the legacy press, the legacy media. They ain't really touched that story at all. Nobody's really brought it to the front.
No.
There's never any, contesting questions brought forward or, presented of like, well, if he can do it, why can't I grow my own legally grown stuff and trade it? I know they'll turn around and say, you can buy a license and set up your own company and all that shit. It's like, you're going to compete with him who's already in a monopoly position thanks to his cronyistic back-scratching bullshit? You think they're going to allow you to compete with that in any way at all? No. But these kind of examples are all through politics, and it's not just in the UK. Obviously, it's all over the world, but these levels of corruption have been there all along. It's just that for a lot of people, they prefer ignorance being their bliss. Just ignore it, pretend that politicians, what's the line out of that song? Politicians never philander. You too will never grow old, that kind of thing. It's sun cream, isn't it? Yeah. I can't remember the lyrics properly, but I'm sure people will remember what I'm trying to allude to. This kind of corruption has been there all along, but in this recent situation, rather than people, or media people, I should say, not just people in general, but rather than the so-called journalists asking questions about potential causal links to waves of death going through the elderly in care homes after they've received their vaccine, instead, they want you to worry about whether Handycock has made a bit of extra money because of his cronyist contracts that he's handed out. Yes, that's corruption. Yes, that's embezzlement of tax money and fraud and all that kind of shit. But is that as bad as them sanctioning the eugenics project that has been dubbed the fucking COVID bullshit?
Tomorrow World. Sorry, that came into my mind, that movie. Sorry. Yeah. Building their new future.
Yeah.
That's a eugenics agenda film, if ever there was one.
That's where that leads.
Yeah.
Into that box. Yeah. They are definitely constantly trying to steer it in that direction.
Awful movie.
Just like the Great Reset and all that kind of stuff. It's all steering towards that technocracy environment that they want.
Taking you down that route. if you want to go. But I think with the way we're seeing the reactions to things, and like I say, underground, it's on the the organic growth of things, in our energy. We share information, how we talk to each other still, and there's that. Like I say, they've done this, and as a consequence, it wakes people up.
Yeah.
That's in their minds. That's the blowback for them. You've got a lot more people now who are aware of this stuff going on.
A lot more people have been red pilled or even black pilled. Yeah, I think it gets a bit.
Super
it's almost
yeah.
Well, it's like brand marketing bullshit. People trying to hedge for their chosen terminology to become the favoured one, and it's almost like a kudos, egotistical kind of shit of like, oh yeah, now everybody says black pilled, and I was the person that came up with the concept of calling it black pilled, and then it's like, just pilled. Can we just call it that? Yeah, whatever it was that made your cogs suddenly start kicking in again, whatever that spark was that sort of went, hang on a minute, I need to ask a question about this. This don't make sense to me. I don't trust this. This feels wrong. Well, you call it black pill, red pill, whatever the fuck you like, but it's all the same beginning of that process, the beginning of that awakening process of like, I'm not just going to accept the shit they're throwing at me.
Yeah.
But there is that kind of, major effect that has occurred around this situation. More people have encountered, experienced, or witnessed, observed something that has begun that process for them. It's set that ball rolling, and they've gone, oh, this doesn't seem right to me. They're telling me to do all this stuff. They're now telling me to wear 3 masks. Some of their supposed experts are even recommending 4 or 5 masks. So why don't you just, get to the end result? Just open the box and stick the box on your head with all the masks still in the box. Just wear the whole box of masks on your head. That'll do you. Yeah. Then Billy Bob Gates now coming out and saying you're going to need 3 injections.
Yes,
A guy who spent loads and loads of money, and he's supposedly one of the wealthiest men on the planet, supposedly, and he spent loads and loads of money buying into the very companies and industries that produce the injections, and now he's given prime time position on news media, on the TV and in the newspapers, where he's telling people that you're going to need 3 injections. But people can't see how they've been scammed by a snake oil salesman who's telling them that, oh, be afraid, the deadly thing is coming, but I can sell you a pill that protects you from the deadly thing.
Yeah, and it's so smoothly done by the Beeb, as we mentioned that story last week.
If you saw that same narrative play out at a car boot sale, which for people in America is like a yard sale, that's the kind of thing we have here in the UK. It's called a car boot sale. People turn up in their vehicles and open the boot and they got stuff to sell. If you saw that kind of thing happening at a car boot sale, you would almost guarantee to turn around and go, that's a fucking scam, walk away, love, we'll keep looking, that's not the kind of shit. But because it's on a TV, because it's on a framing of authority, people just forget that narrative almost inevitably, 99.7% of the time, leads to the conclusion of some kind of fraudulent activity being done on you to exploit you or extract your wealth or resources, etc., etc. But no, it's been presented by the BBC. Therefore, I'm supposed to just remove all that hundreds and hundreds of years worth of common knowledge of, if somebody comes to your town guaranteeing that they can sell you a pill to protect you from the deadly weirdness. No, they're fucking snake oil bullshit. Now we got the variants of concern.
Yeah, well,
you got the VAX, VAC, or VAX, it's often shortened to VAX. And now you got the VOC, the variants of concern. So even though, and I suppose to get into sort of mentioning some of the stuff that's in the so-called roadmap,
The steps.
Yeah. 4 steps to heaven. Do, do, do.
Was it 3 or 4?
Oh, I think it
Was
was.
it?
Yeah, the original song is 3, isn't it? I
But he's
think.
got 4, so you go to hell now. It's like 4.
A couple of notes about that whole thing. If you go and
Mm.
listen to it, it's less than 10 minutes, the section of him announcing all this project bullshit.
Mm.
But one thing is like the actual end, the 4th step in the whole process is due to take place on June the 21st. What is
Solstice.
exactly?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's solstice.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. As I pointed out before, they seem to be purposefully timing these things to follow the solar calendar.
Yeah.
Why? You could say that's just because the viral seasons, like the influenza season, occurs during the autumn winter period following the solar calendar. So it doesn't matter what the printed calendar on your wall might say. It depends on what Mr. Sun up there is doing. That's the real year that's taking place, and they're following that timeline. When is it solstice? When it is equinox?
Yep.
There's
They
that.
did it all last year. It started in spring. They did the autumn, and then we went into the full lockdown. I think it was around the 21st or just after.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And other questions are, well, when he starts reading it out, there's no actual debate happening in the Parliament. It's basically everybody. I say everybody. There's a handful of politicians.
Everybody goes.
They're all just sitting there going,
yeah, crap.
Basically just agreeing with it. There's no debate of we're suggesting. Our government is suggesting that we should do this. So let's debate about whether this is a good thing for us.
Well, what time's the bar open, Cookie? What time's the drinks available?
It's just diktats.
Yeah,
so you're living in a dictatorship because you're just following diktats. But he reads it out, his project, the 4 steps. The first one he reads out, and there's no murmur of questioning about this. It's just allowed, it just flows straight through. No consideration of the connotations of what he's pronouncing. But he talks about how the first stage, I think it's March the 6th. I didn't note down every detail of date and numbers, but in March, beginning of March, the children are going to go back to school. And then he mentions that that will include being tested twice a week. What?
Wow.
So, yeah, you're sending the children, some children, this is the thing, there's conditions and provisos on this situation, on all of it,
Yeah.
But some children will be going back to school, but if they do, they will be required to have a test twice a week. And when they say test, what they're talking about is those PCR tests where you have the big, long 6-inch swab that goes up the nose and into the back of the throat and all the crap connected with that test. Nothing about that, just said as if it's a matter of fact that this is how it will be. And then in also the connotations of that manner of presenting it, there's no question about the fact, well, hang on, well, how long was this lockdown supposed to last? You're just basically telling us in a kind of second-hand fashion that the lockdown is going to carry on for all of us through March when the children go back, if they do go back.
April.
And then you got to wait 4 weeks because you say you want to have a 4-week gap in between every step so that you can monitor the results, which means the rest of us are all in lockdown for a further 5, 6, 7 weeks almost. No mention about lockdown carrying on for that length of time. You said, no, this will happen, and then another 4 weeks will pass, and then we'll do step 2. Yeah. And this carries on through all of it, basically. The 4 steps. And like I said, I didn't note down every detail. Some of it just seems a bit obvious in the sense of they claim they're going to do a slow release kind of thing. So step 2 is certain commercial outlets will be allowed to open. I think pubs can reopen. I'm not sure if that was step 2 or step 3. Then step 3 is other hospitality industries and gyms as well. I think other places like sports stadiums. And then step 4 is the rest of the non-essential commercial and hospitality sector. And was it step 3 where you're allowed to go to the park and sit on a bench with one friend?
Oh, wow.
Again, remember what I said earlier, what I was ranting about, that celebrate the cheese.
Yeah.
They want you to celebrate the cheese, that you're going to have to wait at least another 2.5 months before you're allowed to go to a park and sit on a bench with somebody else. And you're still going to have to wear a mask and social distance. Please don't forget that the requirements of social distancing and mask wearing and getting a vaccination are all the way through this. There is no, we're going back to normal before those things were mandated. No, this is all the way through. Those things are still mandated. So if the pub's open, the pubs will be required to make you social distance and wear masks and blah, blah, blah.
Mm.
So how is this a roadmap to anything?
Yeah.
It's not. It's a fucking road to nowhere, because you're not going anywhere. They're just playing this game of pretending to allow you to have certain social functions back again.
And dragging out, that's the other clue, dragging out the furlough scheme they have over here, where they'll pay you if you haven't, if your job is not there for now. Probably won't be there when you go back. They've extended that to the summer. So that's your clue, isn't it, into how long this is going on for?
It's that kind of arch as well of the solar year. Yeah, they're dragging it out and dragging out the release of the lockdown until we reach solstice, the center of the year. And then, of course, we'll be descending into the winter period again, which means the natural flu season will start not long after that. 6, 7, maybe 8 weeks if we're lucky, and have a longer summer. If we're lucky in this current year of global warming. I mean, look at how globally warmed Texas has been recently. Yeah,
yeah.
Man, the global warming over there is intense.
They weren't expecting that, were they? Bloody hell.
They know that if they keep kicking that can until the middle of the year, they've got all these provisos in place, such as if the tests come back showing that it hasn't really been effective, or that the case numbers are going up again, therefore they won't move to step 2 or step 3 or step 4, etc., etc. By the time we get to that middle of the year, they'll then start talking about how, it's coming back again. We're heading for a 4th wave.
Oh no!
Virus has reached a 4th wave. Why is that? Oh, because of the VOC, the variants of concern. Of course. Oh, of course. Yeah. Every year it changes. So Bill said this year that we're going to need 3 injections. That means next year we'll need 4. And the year after that we'll need 5. And the year after that we'll need 6. On and on. Yeah.
1 in each limb for now, going forward.
And your head counts as a limb. This is not going away. This is not a roadmap to anywhere, to anything, to any release from this new societal abnormal of you living in a security state. It's presented as being for medical reasons to care for your health. It's not. It's an open air prison system. It is the introduction through, it's not exactly the back door, because the back door implies that it's sort of a hidden entrance, but it's being introduced under that disguise of being for your health, for healthcare reasons, etc. But what is being introduced is a social credit linked identity, biometric identity system to monitor, control, and affect your movement, your social interactions, and your license of citizenship. That could, it's not, I was going to say that could reach into everything in your life. It's not could, it will reach into every part of your life. This is that transition into the technocratic dystopia. It's not maybe in the future, possibly if they do this, that, or the other. No, this is what they are trying to do. This is the agenda that they are attempting to implement and force upon everybody.
And for you, it's again for kids and grandkids going forward, what sort of world are we they gonna have? Freedoms that we just took for granted are being swept away day by day this last 12 months.
They're having virtual reins put on them.
And by not doing anything, like you put those memes, when evil exists because good men do nothing, we just let it happen. without saying anything, not speaking up in wherever you are in the workplace or whatever, or where, just saying it's wrong and putting that message out more and more and more. And that changes the energy, that changes things as we do that more and more and more, and I think that's happening underground, like I say, on the sort of lower levels, the masses, us lot, all just knowing what's going on and just, getting opportunities to share that amongst others and stuff now and again, and just the energies, it's all part of that consciousness that exists outside of us. It's not just inside, it is an energy effect and a connection to everything. And, we've seen that with things that they've done scientifically to measure it and stuff. So there's a lot more going on than we're unaware of, our own self, we can change things, it's just how you change your thinking, changes the energy field around you, stuff like that.
That's why to connect it to some of the other stuff we were talking about earlier as well, I was just going to say that's why in a lawful sense, in a judicial environment, it's why they're primarily concerned with intent, because they know full well that intention is what manipulates reality.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah?
That's exactly
that's where they look for blame or innocence. Yeah, that's what they have to concentrate on. The information is just the information. The evidence is just the evidence. But it's the intention of what led to the alleged crime, etc., etc. They're looking for the evidence of the culpability based on intention. Yeah?
Well, an intention of it.
They know full well that it's about the perception and how you use your energy, your perception and how it affects your flow of energy.
Yeah, they don't really. Well, you don't realize how you do create your own reality. Yeah. It's funny when you see that more, as you understand that better. How that works, and it's just it. Yeah, and it's again, it's stuff they don't want you to sort of focus on, because it's all happening out there. Instead, you're creating it within you. Yeah, they externalize everything and invert it. Just to fuck you, just to mess you up even more. So,
in my notes is like an extra subject matter, because like I do, I like to look for like the deeper threads of things that are happening. Often when we're talking about the kind of mainstream media stuff, it is the circus show. Yeah, and I like to look for what's happening in the backstage area kind of thing. But the push for the concept of the simulated reality that's happened over the last several years, really, and I've spoken about this a few times. I've talked about how it's a somewhat disabling concept that they've deliberately injected into the public mind, because they know it brings in kind of misguided or misdirected conception of determinism and things like that. Yeah, if this thing we call reality, if this experience is just a simulation in a big computer somewhere, and a lot of that concept has been encoded into cultural media over the last several years. There's been two major themes that has occupied science fiction media in particular, obviously, but two major themes. One is that all of this is some kind of VR illusion or matrix world, simulated world that you're not really experiencing reality. You're in some kind of controlled environment. And two, that AI will be truly sentient and become another life form and blah, 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 that kind of thing. Yeah? Those have been the two major subjects. There's been a lot of time travel stuff as well, but I think that connects into whether you perceive this reality as being real or not. Yeah, because in a fictional sense, if it is a simulation, then time is meaningless. Our concept of time is meaningless, because whoever's controlling the simulation can move the clock whenever they want. Yeah, in the same way as somebody who works as a video editor sits there with their little dial and sort of runs through the video clip to find where they want to put the edits in and things like that.
Didn't they calculate if you left the planet as well at a certain speed and then came back, you would not age, and the people on the planet would?
Yeah, just relativity. Yeah. People age at different speeds different rates based on your speed of travel within this reality. But my point was coming back to this, especially after you mentioned the kind of inversion thing.
Yeah.
And I know I've said this before when I tried to describe how this idea, this concept of the simulation has been purposefully put out there to disable people and to affect their thinking, is because just the very concept itself ignores the possibility, or deliberately misdirects people's thinking away from the possibility of there being the potential, the high likely potential, that this is the real reality, and the simulation they're referring to is our own evolutionary process of developing simulated worlds using our technology. So we've actually created simulated worlds in various ways, yeah? But they want us to externalize that power of ourselves by having this concept of the bit, oh no, you're not the ones that experience the real reality. You're just an automaton or an NPC in some other external authority's simulation. So again, it's deliberate to draw people's sense of self out of themselves and attach it to an external authority. Yeah, that's why I'd put in my notes actually inverted simulation. Well, because just the concept in and of itself, the way it's presented anyway, well, it presupposes that you have to accept that you're not the top of the tree in that potential possibility of creating simulated worlds or environments, you know? It's something as well that stood out to me, because I'm still a gamer. You know, I still play computer games, and I like to dip in and out of different ones to see, in a similar way like I do with the TVs and shows and movies and whatever. I like to look at some of the stuff they're putting out there to see the kind of programming or the psychological effects that are being included, the stuff that gets amalgamated into storytelling. Science fiction is just one form of storytelling, yeah? And we culturally naturally include things into our storytelling anyway, but I like to watch as well. This is something that I think was one of the reasons me and Jeff connected so well. We were both interested in that subject matter, you know, quite strongly. He had a big interest in watching, you know, what the producers were including in the games, you know, the kind of subliminal imagery in the games and the themes that the games would be based on, things like that. You know, it's true that there is a natural inclusion in our own storytelling creativeness, but it's also true that, again, it connects to the intent and getting your intent to follow their desire so that you create the world that they want. You know, it's the manipulation of your intention and the control of your energy through that channel.
Yeah, and what is your intention? You know, what do you do? Like I say, when I do this, what do I do this for? You know, am I doing it just, you know, what's your intention? And I think if you're doing it for the right reasons and you're not looking for whatever, you're putting information out. Well, that's it, isn't it? That's why I'm doing it. There's nothing, I don't want nothing back in that sense. So it's, you know, I think there is an environment out there for people who do that full time, and I think that's valid as well. That has validity to it because they're putting a lot of effort and work into it, and that's what they survive on. So, you know, kudos to them and stuff if they manage to do that. But they've made it so difficult lately for people to survive in a kind of way that, you know, is bringing, you know, truth out there to people and getting people to be aware of things. They've made it hard, but there are still some people out there doing it. But that's what it is. It is intention. And if you're coming from the right place and stuff like that, then, you know, if you're looking to gain, you're looking to be corrupt, you're looking to, you know, all that stuff, service to yourself kind of stuff.
Which is part of that psychological or spiritual psychic attack that they try to encourage people to externalize. They drag your sense of self out of yourself and pin it to something that they've told you has meaning in the external reality.
You must believe.
You invest all your energy into that.
Yeah.
So, and in a really simplistic kind of example, it's the classic case of the somebody who likes to show off with their wealth, you know, so that to them it's all about the image of wealth, you know. And I can point fingers at somebody like Trump and his golden toilet and silliness like that, you know. To him, the kind of concept of reality is to have the best of everything, the most of everything, you know, to be on top of that acquisitiveness pile, like a dragon sat on top of its hoard. You know, he likes to show you his hoard and go, look at all the stuff I've got. Look at how wealthy I am. You know, ostentatious wealth, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's a simplistic example. That's the egoic element of yourself that has been
Yes.
deliberately drawn out, such that over your lifetime you've become so convinced that that's what has meaning and value in life, that you invest all your energy, all your life energy, into fulfilling that supposed goal, that aspiration. In other words, the way I prove that I'm a real and good person is I acquire a load of stuff, a massive pile of stuff, and then I sit on top of it and tell everybody I can see, like, look at all my stuff, look at how great I am. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a game of life.
Yeah, and screw people up along the way as you get into the
Yeah,
top. You know?
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You do whatever you want. That's where you
Yeah.
can get into elements like the promoting of Satanism and stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
This is one thing where I totally get where the Christian theology is based on and where they're coming from with this kind of concept and idea. Yeah, that kind of satanistic element convinces people that their power is in the external. Yeah, and they always forget to mention, it's like, oh well, yeah, you can become uber powerful, you can become like a god yourself, but there'll always be Satan sat above you with his crown on. Yeah, he's the real king. Well, I should say Lucifer, sorry, to be more accurate. Yeah? He's the real king of this realm. So even though you can play this game where you think you become the top dog because you just do whatever you want to get what you want, you're still not the top dog. Yeah, you might become a lieutenant to that top dog, but you never really become the top dog. So you're playing a losing game anyway.
Yeah.
But they don't want you to realize that. They just want to make you think that you're going to get good stuff because you follow their ideology of, oh, well, I do whatever the fuck I want. I don't care if somebody dies because of what I do. I've earned a little bit of money. Yeah, I'm thinking like the example of Handicock earlier. Yeah.
I was just thinking the music industry of darkness and, in Hollywood and
frequency manipulation.
Yeah. Institutions like that, or things that keep us distracted well over our time while we're here.
You're saying that now, it's just made me think as well, because I mentioned him earlier. Maybe because I haven't played a music track during the shows for a while, for the past few episodes. Partly because I'm just usually too busy yakking, but also because I just often forget to do it. I think about like, oh yeah, I'll play some music, and then I just forget while we're busy talking. But it just made me think, mentioning Jeff C. I could play one of his music, either one of his own guitar pieces, or I could play his intro music, or I would say his outro music, but it's nearly 10 minutes long. I can play it if people want to listen. Maybe if I ask in the chat, hello everyone in the chat, sorry I haven't said hello so far. Good evening, ladies and chest feeders. Thanks for participating in the chat and giving us your attention for a couple of hours. If I ask, let's think, we could do it. If you want to type in the chat, the choices, number 1 for Jeff C's Monday Madness intro, number 2 for the outro, and number 3 for Sunny Day, his own guitar track, which I think it's a fantastic piece of music. But I'll give the choice to the chat room if people want to type that in. Type in just number 1 if you want the intro music, number 2 if you want the outro music, number 3 if you want Sunny Day.
Got 1, 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, more 3s, 3. So a lot of 3s.
More 3s than
1s. There's another 1. There's a 3. 3. Yeah, I think it's
right. Saying that, I better check that I've actually got it on file first. I think I have. Well, talk amongst yourselves. We'll have a quick mooch through me video files. I think I had it somewhere. I know, obviously, I included it when I did the video about it, but I don't know if I kept the actual music track on its own. But talking about the music industry as well, again, that's what made me think of it at the time. So it's another one of those subject matters that Jeff would regularly talk about and he had voluminous knowledge. No, I haven't actually got it to hand, which means I could do it from screen sharing it. Oh, yes, I found it. Right, okay, so where is it? It's in that folder. That's why I didn't see it in my other folder.
How long is it, Cookie? Is it a few minutes?
3 and a bit minutes, I think. Less than 4 minutes. Certainly enough time to go to the loo or whatever you wanted to.
Okay.
Let me just drop that one so I can screen share this one instead. Okay. Sorry, folks. This is the totally non-professional, poorly organised amateur night special. But we're going to play a music track that was an original creation from Jeff C. that was on his secondary channel before I play it. So it was on his secondary music channel, Black Dog Broomsy, which is still on YouTube. I'm glad to say YouTube haven't tried to do anything with it or whatever, so you can go and check it out for yourself if you want to. And of course, check out Jeff C's channel as well while it's still there, while the videos are all still accessible. If you find anything you like, download it, keep it, share it, etc. His work will carry on. It doesn't stop just because he's not with us anymore. So yeah, I'll shut up and play this. We'll have a music break thanks to Jeff. classic piece. Good playing, nicely composed, and works really well with the imagery.
I've
And
not heard that before. That was brilliant.
I like to leave it right to the end, and I know he did this deliberately because it's just good production. You know, leave it right to the end where, as the tone of the guitar fades out, you hear the birds. Yeah. He was a talented musician as well as everything else. And of course, just to make sure, because I know there'll be a few people out there that might say this kind of bullshit, I'm not playing that to try and exploit the situation for some reason. Hang on, take that one off. Yeah. This is just to pay credit to him, and so that people don't forget and keep going and checking out his work. Yeah, that's the main thing. So, hello to everyone in the chat room. I think it was majority number 3, I think. So hopefully, I think by the looks of it, people appreciate it. So yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, brilliant.
Go and, like I said, go and check out his work for yourself if you haven't seen or heard it before. And if, like, for a lot of us, like I was unaware that he had that other channel with the music stuff on for however many years, you know, so it was a really nice find when somebody sent me the link for that. I think it was Camille, actually, so thanks to Camille for that. Please Stop the Ride and check out her channel as well. Hopefully we might do a broadcast. It might be a one-off, but it might become something semi-regular. She's been trying to organise it because I'm terrible at organising stuff, but she's been trying to organise it, and we're going to talk about some of the subjects that Jeff used to cover and some of the things connected to a few of the subject matters that he was covering in his last few videos. But I don't want to say too much about it for now until, you know, it's actually organised and we can schedule it for when we're going to do it. And, you know, like I said, it might become semi-regular to sort of carry on going to and looking at some of those subjects that Jeff used to cover. Yeah, I know there's quite a few people out there that have still got questions about the whole situation, which is fair enough. Yeah, some people don't feel they've got closure, or they're still investigating to try and find out if there's anything untoward happened, things like that, which is fair enough. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of chasing a never-ending story. You're not going to reach any satisfactory conclusion other than when you're trying to talk about these kind of subjects, when you're trying to put work forward in the way that Jeff used to, then obviously the system's not going to be happy with you. So if they, you know, see an opportunity to deal with you in some fashion, then they probably will. If they consider you a potential threat, if you've got too much influence, if you're revealing too much stuff about them, whatever, they'll deal with you in one way or another. It doesn't necessarily mean taking you out, but they'll sort of, you know, shut you down in one way or another.
Make it difficult.
Yeah. I'm thinking as well, you know, this has been an escalating situation through the course of this year, this whole event of the COVID bullshit. You know, the censorship has been steadily getting worse and worse and worse. Now we're in a situation where a platform, like I think it was Facebook, Fastbook, Fuckbook, whatever you want to call it, LifeLog, arbitrarily stopped all the news reporting from Australia. Yeah, because Australia has been planning to introduce this new bill through their parliament that would give more of the advertising money to the companies that are paying for the advertising in the first place, rather than the majority of the money, the lion's share of the money, going to Fastbook just for carrying those adverts. You know, it's that kind of situation, but it's led to the platform basically trying to do a stranglehold to control their monopoly over the Australian news media. It's a situation that could lead to a justification for the argument that those platforms are services, not private companies. And it could be added into the whole steady, gradual incorporation of the corporatist ideology, normalizing the corporatist ideology. Because if people can be convinced that that kind of internet, social media connectivity platform should be provided by the state, then obviously it's blatant corporatocracy, technocracy bullshit. Anyway, I'm digressing a bit. I want to as well give a shout out to that guy, Scott Webb. He put up a video earlier today or late last night, I'm not sure which, but he put up the last video he put up on his channel. Is him saying, this is the last video I'm doing on YouTube, because he's been harassed by YouTube in one way or another, consistently, such that he feels it's a waste of his time and effort to keep trying to push back against what YouTube is doing. So instead, he'll invest his energy onto other areas, other platforms. I think he said he's set up on brand new tube.
Right.
So he's trying to sort of, move into other platforms and less of the mainstream stuff.
Yeah. I had a bit of trouble with that, like to upload on there. I think it might be all right with short videos, but I know with the chat, it was because the reality chat's about an hour and a half, and it always used to be a real hassle. I think I managed to get 2 or 3 up, but so it's just a personal gripe.
No, it's another example of this kind of shit that's been done deliberately to stifle the sharing and the movement of information. Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to, them trying to stem the flow. Because we've been talking about the music industry and the manipulation of intention, and through that manipulation that affects the reality that you experience, because it's a symbiotic relationship between you and the external. We create the environments that we live in, and we are affected by the environments that we live in. So there's that epigenetic symbiotic situation of, well, if we surround ourselves in shit, we're going to end up feeling shit and thinking shit. And that's part of what the system's been doing, deliberately putting us into stressful situations, so it ends up making you ill or depressed or psychotic or whatever. Whereas trying to carry on making use of the current available technology to us, they know that ability to convey information one to another is how narratives that they don't control can begin and spread. So that potentially generates influence, and from that influence it can affect people's intentions. It's just, I know that might be over wording it a bit, over explaining it a bit, but I know people get what I mean. The censorship stuff has carried on, and it's got worse and worse.
Even on BitChute, isn't it? The censoring on BitChute, you were saying, week.
I think they do on the brand new tube as well, and some of that kind of effect that, like you've seen, where it seems to be super slow or blocked, or you're held in review for days
forever.
That is in effect censorship by the back door almost. They're not telling you they're going to censor your stuff if you cover certain subjects, but if you cover certain subjects, you'll find it really, really slow, or it doesn't function properly, or it has glitches that mean the viewers can't actually watch your video or hear the audio, or just something happens. It's just conveniently something happens.
Even BitChute was a bit clunky to upload to. They're not great sites to, especially if you're doing. I think it's just the longer video, or the longer, the short clips. And I know Scott does short clips, doesn't he? So he'll probably get away with getting them up there, no problem.
Well, most of what he does is usually less than 15 minutes. I know he deliberately tries to keep the content length,
but
down a bit. So,
but the other thing,
retaining people's attention is part of the problem.
And I did mention this when I've set up a brand new Tube account and started to upload, and did the first one, no problem. Thought, great, this is a fantastic site, straight up, no problem. Tried to do the second show, and it wouldn't let me. And I thought, why has it not let me? So I actually emailed them and said, I'm trying to upload something. I've got a channel. This is my channel name. And they said, oh, we only allow you 1 gig or something initially, and then we'll up it to 10 gig now for you. And I thought, hang on a sec, this isn't this is something more, again, it's limited. So I'm thinking, hang on. So I've got to go through all the hassle again if I get to 10 gig. And that's when I had all the trouble uploading shows after that, and just thought, I can't be arsed with it.
That's where they'll have the plausible deniability of saying something along the lines of, well, we can only afford so many servers and we can only afford to pay for so much bandwidth. So until you prove that you're highly popular, such that we know you'll bring traffic to our site that we can put adverts in front of them and earn the money we need to run our company, then you get shuffled to the back end of the second-hand servers.
They got shunted right out the back.
If you're somebody with loads of subscribers and you're very popular and blah blah blah, you get priority position on the best servers and the highest bandwidth.
Well, that's what you saw with brand new tube in particular. It would promote those what would call
plausible deniability,
rhodium channels or something. Special channels. Super, good.
It is as well. Unfortunately, part of that continual arms race. And I know this is something we talked about years ago, and I know I've been saying that a hell of a lot recently. Like, oh, we spoke about that before. It's like, yeah, we have. We've been talking about this every fucking years.
10 years at least.
When Google first took over YouTube, and there was somewhat of an exodus, and people went, oh, I'm not doing it now, it's Google, and they all moved to different platforms and whatever. And it's things like Vimeo. And there's a few others that I can't recall now, but anyway, we were talking about it back then, this potential that this is being done deliberately because they know there will be, I'm calling it an arms race. There will be an arms race reaction where, because people are experiencing more censorship and control over the platforms that they've grown used to having access to and usability of, then they're going to look for new platforms that will allow entrepreneurs to set up new businesses that could become a potential threat, not just in a financial sense to the already existing monopolies, but also, like we've just been talking about, that movement of information and the influence that it generates. So therefore, they preempt that natural occurrence, and they provide alternative platforms, or they encourage people to set up alternative platforms. And the steady process over the course of years is that there will be this ongoing arms race, but the corporatocracy can pretty much 100% guarantee that whichever upstart newcomer gets on the block is never going to be able to climb the tree far enough such that they will actually have the reach to push this information out to the mass of the public. So they'll be allowed to grow just enough so that people will go, oh, great, now there's this alternative platform. Let's all go over there. Let's take all my audience over there, and then we'll live on that new platform, and then that new platform gets destroyed. So you've just had to persuade your audience. And I'm sorry, folks, I'm talking in a way that's somewhat objectifying all of you that tune into this stuff, but this is just the business mindset talking, yeah? This is the way they approach this kind of situation. You get the loss of connection. There is a psychological detrimental effect that will occur because you're trying to persuade your audience to move what they're doing to follow you to a new platform. There's plenty of examples across YouTube of people who've suffered that problem. Recently, Dan Dix, Press for Truth, got access to his YouTube channel back again. And I know he said this many times. He said, like, my viewership dropped through the floor when they pushed me off YouTube and I tried to set up on these other new platforms. Yeah, most of his audience either didn't follow him to the new platforms, or they suffered that kind of psychological disablement that led them into a mode of thinking that is basically apathy. They're sort of like, oh, my favorite YouTuber has been shut down, therefore I give up the fight. I can't be arsed fighting anymore because they've even, shut down my favorite YouTuber or my favorite Facebooker or whatever platform it is, the big ones. There is that psychological effect.
Yeah.
And even if out of the people who are, willing to move with you to that new platform will eventually be destroyed or disrupted enough that you will feel the same impetus again. You'll go, oh, now BitChute has become shit and compromised and affected such that we have to move to yet another platform. So you're going to lose another percentage of the audience. And gradually, by attrition, the number of people that you're connecting with will reduce and reduce and reduce and reduce. And if anything, it's not just that they're reducing your numbers in terms of how many people you're reaching, they're actually generating damages in the people that turn away. So in effect, they're creating casualties.
Yeah.
They are demonstrating in a psychological sense, this is very Sun Tzu, Brigade 77 kind of J-trig psychological attack manipulation shit. Yeah? They are generating casualties, psychological casualties, because like I just described, so they shut somebody down on YouTube. That person says, hey, everyone, they shut me down. Let's all move to this other platform. You get a percentage of that viewership will be psychologically damaged such that they turn away from all the information. They turn away from the fight, in that analogy. This is why even though I've acknowledged it's like, it's not a good idea to keep all your eggs in one basket, that usual kind of canard caveat. But at the same time, I wasn't going to leave there voluntarily until they literally kick me out, because I can see this potential that all that's happening is they're pushing people further and further to the fringes, and they know that in that fringe area, you can be disabled much more quickly and easily with greater plausible deniability. If they do it here on one of the major platforms, that's like attacking you in the public square. Yeah, you're standing in the public square, talking to the public around you. You're telling them information. You're having discussions or debates with them. You're revealing truths to the public. And they come along and start beating you up because they cannot logically or rationally contest the information that you're presenting.
We've seen that recently in Hyde Park, Cookie. So,
yeah. I know it's happening literally physically in the real world, but a lot of this whole situation is based around the internet environment, the virtual world. Yeah? This has become the new town square, the new forum for society. So they know that if they beat you up in that metaphorical sense in one of the major platforms, that's, like I said, in that metaphorical sense, it's like them beating you up in the middle of the town square in front of thousands of people. And those thousands of people have just been listening to you talking stuff that they thought was good and they appreciated and they wanted to hear it, and now you've just been beaten on by the tyrannical forces.
But they're always doing that to us, aren't they? Trying to knock us down and deflate you.
If they can push you onto another platform, then they can give you that beating out of view of the public, or at least the majority of the public. Again, I'm going to extrapolate on that metaphor and say it'd be like if they come over to you in the town square and said, oh, mate, I think what you're doing is really good, but you're in a no speak zone. The latest legislation says that you can talk about stuff, but you got to do it over there, round the corner. Okay, yeah, come with us. We'll show you where it is, and we'll make sure you've got your right to speak in the designated area. And they take you round the corner, and then they give you a beating when the public can't see. Yeah, this is slowly what's happening. People are getting pushed onto other platforms, and then they're getting the same problems carry on or worse until in the end they give up and walk away, and they're another casualty in the psychological warfare.
Yeah, I've seen that throughout the 10 years or since 2011. That happened time and time again.
I'm not saying that people have to allow themselves to be abused or, basically harassed or whatever, all the other kind of bad shit that can happen to you online, obviously. I'm not saying that you have to put yourself on the main platforms and let them hit you, but at the same time, you can't readily back away. If they do push you off, then they push you off. There is other ways of doing what you're doing. You know, there's even the old school fashion of printing out flyers, or like we talked about recently, chalktivism. You know, get some chalk and write stuff on the pavement and on the walls and whatever. You know, there are ways for you to keep sharing information, but they don't want you to reach as many people in this new public square virtual environment that we've been pushed into.
Yes.
So I get it if people have had enough of trying to, you know, deal with that arms race situation. But I still, I've asked this question a few times recently. I still question, why is it that I can sit here and say quite openly, COVID is a scam? Yeah, COVID is a scam, but I haven't been shut down. I've talked about the various available bits of evidence. We shared links to scientific papers and research, statistical evidence, various professionals, and professors, doctors, etc. I haven't been shut down. And I put it down to possibly two things. One, the system doesn't consider me enough of a threat because I don't have the reach or the influence to pose any real threat to them, yeah, which is fair enough. I don't want to be in a position like that, yeah. I'm not anyone's leader. I'm no one's president, blah, blah, blah. But also, because of my own personal medical history, they can quite readily step forward and go, oh, everything he's saying is all just bunkum. You don't have to listen to a word he says. It's all meaningless gibberish. Don't worry about it, folks. Nothing to see here. Just another crazy person on the internet. Yeah, possibly they're the two main reasons why I haven't been shut down. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But my point is, until they kick me off this medium, I'll carry on doing stuff on YouTube, because YouTube is, unfortunately, like Fartbook and Twigger, you know, it's what makes up the new virtual platforms, main platforms that are the new town square. Yeah. So if you want to be heard by people, even though I know I haven't got a massive reach and all that kind of stuff, it's still there for when people discover it. Yeah. And that's often what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I've always looked at it as well, because they've always like cul-de-saced us off since we've been doing it anyway. So we were we just kept it. It was just small. It's just, that's how I think it's. If there's many of those types of groups or channels or whatever, not even on the internet, but in real life, where people get together in small little groups and things like that. That works better.
Like the freedom cells concept.
Yeah, that same concept. Yes, yeah, where it's not just one massive 2 million people all stand there going, "We want change."
There is no head of the snake.
No, exactly.
There is no centralized organization. There is no club that you have to buy membership to. There's no license card that you have to carry around. None of that bullshit. It's all decentralized, voluntary, anarchistic, if you accept the true definition of the word. Yeah.
And these are some of the solutions that are out there, where you get into smaller groups and you can't be infiltrated.
Sliding down my chair tonight. Sorry, man.
No, you can't be infiltrated then, can you? It's much more difficult, where we know over the years with our history and that, go and look at what they did to institutions where they were set up with good intention again, but it was hijacked and taken over, and the philosophy changed, the idea changed, the ideologies changed, things like that, and things are infiltrated and changed, and they've done that forever. There's plenty of evidence. Go on.
Well, it just reminded me. I'm sure I watched it the other night. I can't remember if I clicked through on it or not. Red Silver J uploaded a video about the recent revealing of information about the FBI. Not so long ago, he did a little bit of coverage about the leader of some of the protest groups involved in the alleged riot on January the 6th, and they're connected to the FBI and stuff like that, the agency COINTEL, basically. But he put up a video just a couple of days ago, I think, referencing that kind of information that has been around for a while about Malcolm X. And then not so long ago, actually, that's a might have been what it was in the back of my mind when I was thinking earlier about the kind of whistleblower coming forward on their deathbed, because that was what happened in that situation. One of the people who worked with the police forces at the time that were harassing all those social movement leaders like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X released a kind of personal statement on his deathbed saying, yes, I was involved in activities that were deliberately covert and underhanded and were meant to subdue those people because they had too much influence and potentially lead to their deaths, you know, to try and persuade them to kill themselves, like in Martin Luther King's example. Yeah, they were sending him letters basically trying to persuade him to commit suicide.
And they finally shot him.
Yeah, and that's something that a lot of people haven't heard about. There was a court case, and it was proven in the court case that yes, there was a conspiracy to assassinate Martin Luther King. It wasn't just a lone gunman kind of bullshit narrative that was originally told. There was a conspiracy, and it involved government agencies. So, in other words, there was a court case that found the government guilty of conspiring to kill and successfully killing Martin Luther King. Do you know about that? Did you ever hear about the result of that court case? James Corbett covered this years ago.
Yeah.
For exactly that reason. Yeah. Hardly anyone even knows that there was actually a court case, and it did come out in favour of, yes, the government did it.
Yeah, cover it up. Or, yeah, and just, you know, it was a bit like the Diana inquest or what they had. That movie, Unlawful Killing, that was interesting how the media over here are, you know, just the same everywhere else. You know, corrupt. Don't give you the truth of anything. Keep you nicely just, you know, over there. Oh, by the way, Tipping Point's on. That's a crappy. That's a crappy show in the UK, apparently.
I don't know. Is it as bad as, what did they call it? Something like The Wall. I couldn't get my hat with that one. It's another one of those shows that I've sort of glimpsed over the last few
I've
years.
Seen over the last few years. It just made me laugh because someone said that to me, and I thought, oh, fuck's sake.
Is this what television has come to? Fucking hell. They're getting more and more desperate, and it's just any old tripe and stick it on a camera, and it's like, here you go, folks, here's some shit for you to look at.
Yeah.
Here's some more crappy shadows on the wall in Plato's cave. You know, this will keep you occupied for a few minutes.
With general knowledge, you know, the general knowledge questions they ask, you know, that everyone's, you know, hooked into that. You know, the game show, and they've had them on for years. Yeah, they just change them up over the decades, you know. And
don't bother learning to engage your cognitive functions to process any question. No, instead, just task yourself to becoming a filing cabinet for information that is officially sanctioned as being okay for you to know. What's the capital of Bogota? Yeah. There's a great clip from Mitchell and Webb. You know, I've used it a few times, the Remain Indoors one. I'll see if I can find the still image from it while I'm yabbering, because it is just such an appropriate little sketch that they did. And you'll probably find it on YouTube, no problem. Just look up Remain Indoors. I think it's Mitchell and Webb Experience or something.
Yeah,
you'll probably find it just if you put Remain Indoors in. I can't see it in my files, and I'm just going to be too distracted trying to find it. But anyway, if you see the whole clip, it's actually meant to be like a game show. Yeah, and he's asking questions, and it's sort of like that kind of response of, in that future fictional environment that makes the comedy of the skit, then people's knowledge is so messed up when they show them an image of somebody who's just like a reality TV show celebrity. They think he's the president of some country or something, but it's still sanctioned official knowledge. So they're allowed to know it and memorize it and repeat it on a game show, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just the absurdity of it is what generates the dark humor of that situation.
Yeah, I've been getting into some of the old League of Gentlemen stuff. That's dark. It was dark stuff, but I
think that's quite subtly subliminal as well, referencing the kind of culture around the BBC.
Definitely.
Yeah.
If you look back at some of them old, it's funny because they pay all that off on a lot of things, unless you own a copy of it or something, you got it on DVD.
Well, think about it from the point of view, because this is somewhat how I interpreted it when I first started watching it years ago when it first came out. And I did sort of get a little bit hooked on it of like, oh, this is, really, there's some quite insightful stuff hidden away in it.
Lots, yeah.
But it was kind of like a portrayal of the archers, but it's like, what if you could see the art rather than just being a radio play? For people who don't know, the Archers is probably the longest running radio drama play in the world. It's nothing exciting whatsoever. Quite the opposite. Yeah, it's really sort of low pace, slow pace radio drama that's been going on the BBC for a long time. But it's like, if you could actually see what those characters were doing, if it was televised rather than just being on the radio, but the visuals are of them living a kind of very dark and debaucherous lifestyle that included things like cannibalism and sexual abuse and things like that. That's the League of Gentlemen, and that's how I sort of interpreted what they were presenting. You have this imagery of kind of like the chocolate box, small village, the kind of Middle England village somewhere in the country. But when the story reveals to you what's going on below the surface, and there's all this kind of dark shit happening, and they're a bunch of psychopaths, basically. Yeah. But the image is it like chocolate box village community, this is a local shop for local people, that kind of thing.
Yeah, everybody's smiling, it's all good, everything's fine. Yeah,
that's what I say. To me, it just comes across as like a subtle subliminal revealing of the culture around the BBC. Yes. They present themselves as being very Middle England, the everyman kind of representation of the populace, whereas really what's going on behind closed doors, backstage, etc., is shit like Jimmy Savile and Gary Glitter.
Yeah, well,
that's the reality of that industry.
Yeah, Gary Glitter, who was the 70s glam rock pop star, who was a paedophile and been locked up a few times and had a bit of a, if you look at his history, it's not good. And he's in jail at the moment. And I'd mentioned to Cookie tonight the front page of the Sun newspaper, which is a gutter press tabloid thing they have here. I did manage to see it today. I don't know why I picked it up. I looked at the front page.
The universe.
Yeah, it made me look at it, and I thought, why is he on the front page? Because he's obviously in jail over here now. I didn't know that. And he's about 74. He looked terrible. He's a horrible, evil, horrible man. And the headline was, he's had his vax before everybody else, basically. He's had his vaccine. So a paedophile is a priority. I mean, the depths to which this journalism steeps in a sense is just off the scale. I just couldn't believe that headline. I was like, wow. Go on.
Trying to elicit and exploit jealousy in the population.
Yeah.
To make them demand that they get their vaccines now before the pedos get them.
I mean,
how dare you inject that pedo before me? Come here, give me the injection first. You
propaganda fucker. And the way it's just like off the scale, isn't it? That's what sort of gets me at the moment. That sort of bullshit.
I'll put the sort of it's sort of a question, but it's more kind of conceptual consideration. Which is worse, the people who abuse the child, the actual literal abuser directly, or the people who then exploit the result of that abuse? Doesn't that mean that the child is getting abused twice?
Yeah.
These people who exploit that situation for one reason or another. And I know, you can quite readily find that kind of shit on the internet, on YouTube even, where people are
Mm.
covering those kind of subjects, and their channels monetized, and they're selling merchandise, and they got promotional shit going on and whatever. They're just going ka-ching, 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 because they do things like mention Madeleine McCann or whatever, you know, some case or some snippet of information that grabs the public attention, and they just quids in on that. You know, that is really despicable. Yeah. Not only has the child been abused by the literal abuser themselves, you're then abusing that situation again just to make money, which is worse. I'm not sure, you know, it could be just a semantic point. You know, both are bad, obviously, but there's just something about that kind of situation makes me want to ask that question, like, which is worse, the person who's literally abusing the child, or you who come along afterwards and abuse and exploit that situation?
Yeah.
Sorry, repeating myself.
No.
Yeah.
I was just thinking though on that subject, you know, there is more. We talked to Gary before we come on live, and he was mentioning about the French guys and the paedophiles that have been arrested and things like that are not really making as a headline, you know, but it's happening. We know that with was it Jean-Luc Brunel, that model agency guy or whatever, or fashion guy, who was, you know, that was a high profile one, and another one we mentioned, Peter Nygaard, another one. But there's been others, and there's things happening there which, you know, is interesting. And obviously Maxwell case, that's still ongoing. So there's still, you know, she said she's got videos and stuff of, you know, of Clinton and Trump and all sorts. So
if she was involved in enabling and perpetrating an exploitation ring, you know, blackmail ring, then yeah, of course she's got copies. She'll have copies of loads of different bits of video evidence and whatever.
The whole thing is filmed, everything. The whole villa out in that island was set up with cameras every room. You know, they filmed everything. There'd be gigs, thousands of gigs worth of data, probably of video stuff. You know, someone's got that, or someone has that, or access to that. Maybe that's why Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Who knows?
It was totally because of the leprechauns. That was why he didn't, you know, kill himself. He was too busy singing along with the leprechauns, you know.
But that's still going on, and again, people's, you know, like I say, something will break. I think there's more, you know, still to come.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I'm not sure if I mentioned this last week. I might have done. Or it might have been after we were off air or something. I do feel, and I'm not saying this as an absolute. Yeah, I'm just. It's been bubbling away in my head, but whatever. I do feel that we probably reached somewhat the bottom of this situation, as in, it's, you know, if you see the kind of, in the respect of, they want to lead us towards that kind of biometric ID environment, dystopia, technocracy, etc., etc. Yes, but it's not like they're now going to start pulling up in vans and forcing people on the back of a lorry but at gunpoint to be shipped off to an execution chamber somewhere. It's not got that bad, yeah. But I do feel, certainly in the Western nations, anyway, in the so-called you know, alleged developed nations, we probably hit the bottom of the worst of what will be apparent. If you can see it as being, you know, yeah, it's bad, but it's not as bad as it potentially could be, and it's certainly not as bad as some time periods in history. So there's a lot to be grateful for still, and there's a lot of potential benefit, like we've been commonly referring to recently. You know, a lot of what the system has done has worked really well at helping more people realize that they're being exploited and abused.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
therefore, once you're aware of a problem, you can start trying to deal with it and address it and move on and make your life better and all that good stuff. Yeah. So if we are starting to hit the bottom of the worst they're going to take it to, then we're on fairly good standing to work back up from this position. And please, this is why I say I'm not saying this as an absolute. I don't mean it in the sense of like Bojo's bullshit phrase of build back better. And that's Anal Schwab as well, innit? Build back better. They were all chanting it.
Yeah.
But I mean it in the sense of, if you're here now, you've got through the worst of the storm hitting you. Yes, the storm hasn't gone away yet, but if you're still on your feet now, then have confidence that you've survived the worst of that element of the storm hitting you. So now just, keep standing your ground.
Yeah.
Keep your face into the wind, because this is now going to go on for a little while, but it's not going to get any worse.
Yeah, don't give up.
And I repeat to myself a lot, but I think, it's not being ignorant of, it's not forgetting about the dark reality that a lot of people have died because of all this bullshit. I'm not forgetting that. I'm not ignoring that. I'm not sidelining it or, diminishing it in any way. But as I say, it hasn't got as bad as a stage such as them creating some kind of mass genocide. So, on that happy, cheery note, I've got to find a couple of images in the meme factory.
I haven't looked in there tonight.
There's a couple of good ones, at least. I mean, there's a lot of good ones, but I'm trying to sort of pluck out the best, especially when they're highly appropriate to the kind of stuff we've been talking about. And I've got to scroll back up through it, because now Microsoft Skype has started doing its own subtle shadow banning bullshit, where even though you're trying to look through the portfolio of images connected to a chat room, it'll only show you a selection. It doesn't show you all the images that have been shared. It selects, it curates which ones it think you might want to be looking at. So it's just, so it's those little cuts, death by 1,000 cuts. It's those little reductions that gradually build up over time. And now I'm scrolling. I can find it. This is typical. I think it was just before this bit. Come on, I know I saw it there.
Someone's just put in the chat, was it high plane shifter? Epstein didn't fake his own death. No.
No,
It's all bizarre, isn't it? It's like, I think they offed him. They showed his body, which was really weird. They actually showed his dead body on the stretcher, didn't they? You saw his face and everything. That's really unusual, isn't it?
But they show lots of dead bodies in movies.
Yeah.
So, it could have just been a movie dummy. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's in the sense of normally they don't do that kind of thing. They don't show you images of somebody as they've been wheeled out of a coroner's office or out of the van into the coroner's office without being covered by a sheet or anything, so that you can see who it is. That's convenient, isn't it?
But he's gone either way, whatever. So he's off the scene. He's in the clear, whether he's dead or not.
Or on a beach in Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
You can't make this shit up, as Jeff would say. If you saw this in a movie script, it'd be one of those crappy movies. You think, oh man, I wish I hadn't wasted money watching that crap. It's just such cheesy writing.
And then the guards fell asleep, and the alarms didn't work. Oh wow! Wow, I expect you to believe. I mean, if you go back to when that was and looked at their excuses were just, again, like everything else, it's all corrupt.
In the future, they will be completely bemused. There'll probably be whole areas of academic study of why the 2020s or the time, the decades after the millennium, people were so idiotic. Why were people so dumb in the 2020s, Grandad? Well, you weren't there, younger. When I was alive in the 2020s, people were totally fucking stupid.
They always fell asleep on the job, and there was protecting a high security risk, suicide, whatever person. They always fall asleep. It's the part of the job.
I just realised, like a total newbie schoolboy error.
Yeah.
I was trying to scroll through the wrong chat room. So I was scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and saying, I can't find it. I know I saw it here earlier. I can't find it.
And you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, I was looking at completely the wrong sodding chat room. Hang on. Let's start with this one. And thanks to James, the chat room ninja, for sharing some of these, and the other guys as well. Snowlands Pete and Kendo and Big Tony, and of course Tassie. Tassie's always sharing great links. But these are just some of the memes that have been shared recently. Example of the manipulation of the media.
Yeah.
Yeah, your view would be of just kind of like that half. You obviously wouldn't see this guy. He's green screened out afterwards. This is a quote from that presentation he did on the TED Talks that I referenced the other night. If we do a really great job on new vaccines and reproductive health services, which means abortion clinics, we could lower the world population by perhaps 10 or 15%. End quote. Yeah. And that's the guy who's now heavily invested in the vaccine industry, and he's recently telling you that you need to have 3 jabs. No possible connection there, eh? Yeah. I thought this one just says it nice and simple. Yeah, that's what it's on about the snake oil kind of salesman. Yeah, same people who sell the panic sell the pill. I thought this one was very good.
That's brilliant. Who's that? That's good.
I'm trying to find the main one I was thinking about that I saw in here. Yeah. You're going to believe those pricks? No, it's this one. I'm not, because I'm such a semantic git. Yeah, I'm not so keen on the connotations of connecting it to that particular Hollywood blockbuster movie media deliberate manipulation of people's thinking, but in reference to the principles that was a core part of Spartan lifestyle and society, then yeah, I totally agree. You know, that's the government message is wear a mask, get a Rona vaccine, and you can rejoin society. The Spartans' message is bold of you to assume that I think society is worth rejoining. This has been my attitude for years, and it's why I've tried to explain over the course of this year. So I know I'm often referring to the new abnormal, and I'm talking about how the government is trying to destroy what people used to consider normal. And for the kind of subject matters that I've talked about over the years, that might sound like a contradiction. It's not. My attitude is there's a lot about society that is fucked up, yeah, and it needs addressing. But that doesn't mean we need to go into a dystopian technocracy, which is what the government is trying to force us into.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally disagree with that, and I mostly disagree with the original supposed normal that a lot of people are complaining that we've lost. It's like most of what you considered normal is illusion. It's a facade. It's a waste and exploitation of your energy. It's a distraction from reality. It's not something I want to go back to. Yeah. There's obviously certain elements that have been removed from us now that, yes, I would want them back. And I think people should be having those back. They're natural human rights, etc., etc. But this whole concept of what is commonly referred to as society or civilization, it's like, no, it was fucked up in the first place.
Yeah.
So trying to, it creates a cognitive dissonance to think that you actually want to go back to a life that was fucked up in the first place anyway. It's like, oh, well, what are you doing this week? Crack cocaine? Oh, well, at least it's not heroin. I got a minute. Yeah. Which is the worst kind of shit you want to live in? Do you want their shit or do you want your own shit? Yeah. You just live in a bucket of shit. It's like, no, get out of the bucket, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
And I thought this one was spot on. It's just really simple example. Yeah. When you're talking to people, you don't need to have an argument with them. You don't need to force your point of view or your information onto them. You just say something like this to them. You say, "Oh, remember the plague that wiped out all the Amish people because they ideologically, religiously, they don't allow vaccinations. They don't have vaccinations. Do you remember that plague that wiped them all out? Yeah? Obviously, there wasn't. Yeah, exactly." Anyway, I think that's enough memeage for now. Thanks to the guys for sharing them. It definitely helps get the information out, get the information across, present it in a way that it makes it more accessible to more people. It makes the ideas more comprehensible to more people. It's all great stuff. Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of shitty memes out there as well, but yeah, it's a good methodology to use, especially when trying to interact with people that maybe you don't know, so you don't have any confidence as to whether they can cope with some of the ideas that you want to try and share with them. You don't want to break people, and I don't anyway. The idea is to try and help people, not break them. Otherwise we end up with more, like I talked about earlier, psychological casualties of war. That's not the point. That's not the intention. The intention is to help people. So thank you all for tuning in. Thanks, Peter, for joining in.
Yeah, cheers, Cookie.
Thanks for in the chat room. Thanks for tuning in and giving us your attention for a bit and participating in the chat. It looks like there's been lots of good stuff in the chat. The chat box won't scroll all the way back again. So thank you all for joining in. A big shout out to all of you. I see a lot of the usual suspects in there. So hello, everyone. Good evening, ladies and chest feeders. That might become the new strap line. Yes, that's enough silliness. We will be back again on Wednesday night for the reality chat on Peter's channel, the reality chat channel, at 8 p.m. GMT, or maybe a moment or two after 8 p.m, but thereabouts.
Yeah. Steve
Tagoosey's on his channel for the mystery show on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. as well. And Dr. Rock is doing his internet radio broadcast on Post-Truth World, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, posttruthworld.org. As far as I remember, was it .com? I'm sorry, Doc, I'm misremembering just on that one point. Let me just check my bookmark. That'd be the best way to check it. Again, talk amongst yourselves. We will exploit this moment of silence. Posttruthworld.net. So there you go. I was wrong even with the .org. Posttruthworld.net.
Yeah, it's just in the chat there as well. Yeah.
Cool. Good. Yeah. Keep on keeping on and keep on thinking before it's illegal, and keep on talking, and don't believe all the hype and bullshit. Often they're trying to persuade you that you are stuck on a what did I call it? A rubber band roadmap, just going through the motions. Yeah, I won't play it again. Just get too much. Go on and on and on forever. Thanks again, folks. Take care. See you again soon. Cut cheese.